Cinemania Field Report. The strange world of the strange world of the strange world of the strange... Hi folks, welcome to another Cinemania Field Report from your boy brother Andy, here to deal out a heaping helping of the weird, wacky and wonderful just the way you like it. And before we begin, don't forget to smash that like button, annihilate the bell icon, and wreak destruction upon the sponsor this week, which is some dodgy mattress company or a mail-order underwear supplier or a VPN relying on your incipient dread of a technocratic dystopia to sell you on a digital panacea you don't understand. So let's get right to it. Just as soon as we pause for a few adverts. Got to get that algorithm pumping, am I right? No. Wait, stop. Hold on. Stop the music, stop the ironic cassette tape sound, stop the whole podcast. I'm tired of this. I'm gonna go do something else. Why shouldn't I go out and get a bit of fresh air once in a while, eh? Why should we bang on about weird media and mind-warping metafictions when we can just go lie in a field and look at the insects, or smell the flowers, or maybe just walk around for a while and forget all this whole narrative fiction stuff? Weird, isn't it? We have an agreement. I talk and you listen. A promise was made that if you press play on your podcast player of choice, you'll be regaled with tales of the perverse and heretical, and so on and so on. But what if I don't keep my side of the bargain? What if I wasn't going to do what you expect anymore, and instead just walk off and follow my own whims instead of narratively satisfying sets of imperatives? That would be a little off-putting, I'm sure. A little strange, you might say. And it would be very much like the strange world of Gurney Slade. It's 1960, kids, and the 60s are just about to start swinging. In Britain, it's a new decade, and a new idea has taken hold. Young people. Literally, the concept of youth culture has become a thing, as people started to realize that the young were not simply adults but shorter. The austerity of the wartime generation gave way to the 3 L's: liberty, live music, and lots of sex. In this febrile atmosphere, the idea of the teenage heartthrob was everywhere. Clean-cut guys singing fast rock and roll tunes were the flavor of the moment, the cocks of the walk, you might say. Sure, we'd get your Stones of the rolling variety and the Zeppelins of the lead persuasion soon enough. But for now, teenage rebellion meant listening to pop records by chaps with slick hair who sung about maybe sharing a kiss when Papa isn't looking. Gosh. One such young man was Anthony Newley, and if you think you've not heard any of his stuff, you're wrong and stupid. Stop being so stupid and wrong. Allow me to explain. He started as a child actor, and while he was graduating to a full grown-up actor, he took a part playing a rock singer who got drafted into the army, kind of like a British Elvis. It turns out he had a pretty good voice and the right look, so he released some records that did well. The point is, he had a certain look and certain expectations. Girls liked him. He was appearing in the movies, and that should have been about it. But young Anthony had ideas of his own. He wanted to try something a little different. He had an idea for a television series, and got hold of some writers to lay down a script, and convinced a TV studio to take a chance on him. At the time, British television was divided into the BBC and the other channel, known commonly as independent television, or ITV, although it was more like a conglomeration of local studio outfits. Respectable families didn't watch the other channel. The Strange World of Gurney Slade was a 6-episode black-and-white TV series that aired in 1960, and you can find the whole thing on YouTube pretty much. You might want to treat yourself. You'll see why it was done after 6 episodes. The show starts like a pretty standard British sitcom of the era. Young Gurney Slade, played by Anthony Newley himself, comes home to his comically stereotypical family and sits down to dinner. So far, so comical. This is exactly the sort of thing you'd see any day of the week, with a few weak sauce jokes and some jaunty music. But it had a genuine film star and pop singer in it. So 12 million people tuned in to see what, as they say, was up. And then something unprecedented happened. Gurney Slade, the fictional character, decides that this show is boring and going nowhere. He isn't particularly interested in being part of the narrative, so he gets up and walks out. He just wanders off his own show and decides to take a stroll around town. And let me be clear, the premise is that a fictional character has got bored of his own show and just walks into the real world. At first, Gurney is doing fine, but by the end of the episode he realizes that the cameras that have been recording the show are still following him, and no matter what he does, he can't escape from them. Things are about to get strange. Ratings dropped off quickly. People had no idea what exactly they were supposed to be looking at. There was no plot exactly. Each week, Gurney would simply find himself in odd and surreal situations, or else he would just give his thoughts about life and the world. In one episode, he literally stares at a patch of grass and narrates what he thinks the ants in the soil are getting up to and what their little world is like. No, we don't really see any ants. We just see Anthony Newley looking at grass, having thoughts. What the fuck is going on? By the fourth episode, Gurney Slade is being put on trial for being a character in a show that isn't very funny. The show is literally putting itself on trial for not being what the viewing public might have expected. The tensions escalate. Gurney sees murder and mayhem, chases girls, gets trapped inside his own mind with a group of kids, and reveals to them something of the anxiety and existential angst that goes along with being a heartthrob pop star. He has a little dance with a scarecrow. Interestingly, inside the mind of Gurney Slade there is a literal depression room. The character, Gurney Slade, watches the actor, Anthony Newley, perform his top 10 hit song from that year. It gives him no real pleasure. He just remarks that he thought he sung better than that. From one episode to the next, there's literally no way to tell what's coming. In the final episode, Gurney looks back over the weirdness of his little show, talks to the characters he's met along the way, and decides he'd actually quite like a second series. He would like to go on living. He ends up confronting Anthony Newley, who isn't as fond of the idea, and Gurney ends up turning into a ventriloquist dummy. There was to be no second series. What did it mean? Was this an existential collapse portrayed as a surreal comedy? Was it purely experimental, avant-garde? We do know that the work of Anthony Newley was a big influence on David Bowie, whose own early work was described by critics as being very much indebted to Newley. He married again. He was married to Joan Collins, who found him too egotistical and self-absorbed to stay with. Jesus. Remember I said you'd heard his music? He went on to a career on Broadway as a songwriter. He wrote the lyrics to Goldfinger, sung by Shirley Bassey. He wrote Feeling Good for Nina Simone. He wrote The Candyman for Sammy Davis Jr., along with the rest of the songs in Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. His work has been performed by Barbra Streisand, Tony Bennett, Mariah Carey, and Michael Bublé. Well, I did tell you to stop being so stupid and wrong. You've heard plenty of this stuff. Why was the strange world of Gurney Slade so strange? It was so weird and wrong. Exactly the sort of thing that British television viewers in 1960 were explicitly not looking for. It's like a play was written by Sartre, rewritten by Tom Stoppard, and performed by Cliff Richard on local television. What the blazing bastard hell does that even mean? We're currently in the post-modern era, a time when values are worked and constructed and reworked and deconstructed around us on a daily basis. It's unclear if the era has come to an end yet, or ever will, or what it really all means. But it began with people like Gurney Slade, fictional characters who refused to stay fictional and decided to talk to the ants instead. Things didn't go so well for poor Gurney with his depression room and ultimate fate as another man's puppet. But the influence of true experimentalists going with their heart and ripping up the rules in the hope of finding something better behind the wallpaper of reality is still with us in ways that are hard to define. There really aren't any rules anymore, only changing tastes and new ideas rebuilt from the remains of the old ones. To my mind, Anthony Newley was one of the original rule breakers, a chap who went his own way no matter what, and took us along for the ride. So I guess it's time for this ventriloquist dummy to put on a smile and get back to making a podcast again, just the way you like it. That's what you want, right? That's what society wants. That's what I want. I want you to smash the like button, crush it into powder and feed it to the dogs. Hit the notification button till it cries. Tear it all down. Go your own damn way and don't come to me or anyone else for guidance. We can all be Gurney Slade, and our strange world is for us to create. Cinemania Field Report is a production of the Cinemania Society, available wherever you might find quality podcasts. This episode was written and performed by Andy Slack, music by Carl Casey at Whitebat Audio. Incidental sound courtesy of Epidemic Sound.